Hi, and welcome to a demo on entering tournament results. So by this point, hopefully you've created a tournament schedule and have added a core set of members to your roster who you want to be on your roster full time. And so now you've conducted your first tournament, you've got all the results, all the game cards in front of you, and now you're ready to go ahead and enter the tournament results. So to get started, you come over here on the left-hand menu and you select Tourney Results. That's going to bring up the tournament results screen. This is a list of all the tournaments that you have on your schedule. And it's sorted from the first tournament that you haven't entered results for down through the last tournament that you haven't entered results for. And then at the point when you've entered results for tournaments, it puts those at the bottom because you're done with them so that they're out of the way so that you don't have to deal with them anymore. So in this particular case, I've got 9 tournaments already on my schedule. And you can see that I haven't entered results for any of them. The status is listed as incomplete for all of them. So we've, by this point in the season, we've played our first tournament, and we want to go ahead and enter the results for that tournament. So in order to do that, you go ahead and you click on the tournament number corresponding to that tournament. So I want to enter results for tournament number 1. I'm going to go ahead and click on the 1. At this point, the tournament results entry screen for an individual tournament comes up. So here you can see that I'm on the tournament results screen for tournament number 1. At this point, there are 2 ways to get started with entering results. You can start by loading a list of all the players on your roster. So this will include everyone who is a member, a guest, a visitor, or a traveler. It will not include people who have been removed or dropped from your roster at some point. The other way to get started is to select an individual player, enter their results, save their results, enter another player, save their results, etc. How you get started is up to you. It's usually most efficient to start by adding everybody, and then you can fairly quickly remove everyone who didn't play rather than having to add everybody one at a time who did play. It really depends on how big your roster is and what percentage of your roster happened to play in that particular tournament. If you have a really large roster and only a few players played in the tournament, it might be quicker to just enter them one at a time. But for the most part, it'll probably be quicker to start by adding everyone and then removing those who didn't play. So in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click the quick start and add all the players to the results. So you can see it does that. The screen reloads, lets me know that the players have been added to the tournament. And now I've got a list of all the players on my roster. So in this particular case, so now there's going to be a lot of people listed here who potentially didn't play in the tournament. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and remove all the people who didn't play. In this particular example, for quickness of entering the results, I'm going to remove a lot of the players just so that we don't have to enter results for lots and lots of people. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to delete. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to check off. You'll notice that I've checked off this column called didn't play. So that's how you indicate that someone didn't play in that particular tournament. You just go through and you check off all the check boxes corresponding to the people who didn't play, who you want to remove, and then you come down here and you save the results. Once you do that, it lets you know that the tournament has been modified, and then you come back to the results, and now I see that I have a list with only those people who are left who did actually play in the tournament. One thing to keep in mind is that in order for it to be a valid tournament by grassroots standards, there needs to have been at least 6 players who played in the tournament, not counting guests. So if you've got less than 6 people who happen to play, then it won't let you complete the results for that particular tournament. Okay, so now I've got the list of players who I want to enter results for. And so now I'm going to go ahead and enter the results. There are 5 columns here. You can see game points, games won, spread, amount won, and skunks lost. The only 2 columns that are absolutely required by the program are the games points and the games won. So let's suppose that the first player had a 14 card, 14 game points, 7 wins. I can optionally choose to enter spread, amount won, or skunks lost, but it's not required. If you've got a whole lot of club members and it takes a really long time to enter the results, it might be best to skip these fields, or you might want to skip these fields. Some of them are used in some of the reports, so you can get some somewhat neat reporting out of it if you do go ahead and take the time to enter these fields. But if you don't, then those reports will just be empty. So it's really up to you. It depends on what you think your members will want to see, what's easiest for you as a director to enter, given the size of the amount of results that you're having to enter. But the only two things that are required are game points and games won. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and enter some spread and an amount won and a number of skunks lost. And so you just go ahead and do that for each of the players in the tournament. You'll notice that the players are sorted alphabetically. So one thing that might be helpful is that if you sort the game cards that you've got sitting next to you into alphabetical order, then you can just go through one at a time and enter the results for each player as you go. So I'll go ahead and I'll enter results for a couple of more players. And so you just go through this one player at a time and enter their results. And at any point in time, as you're entering the results, maybe you've gotten through entering a handful. In this case, I've entered 4 of the 6 players that I want to enter for that tournament. I find it to be a good idea to save the results fairly frequently so you don't lose the information for the work you've already entered. So I'm going to go ahead at this point, even though I've only entered 4 of the 6, I'm going to go ahead and save the results now just so that I make sure that it's in the system and I don't lose what I've already done. One other thing to notice here, now that I've gone ahead and I've saved the results for these 4 players, is that there's a total row at the bottom. So it tells me that there are 6 total players for this tournament. To this point, I've entered 21 total games won. The total spread so far that I've entered is plus 135. The amount won is 65, and the skunks lost is 2, and the skunks won is 3. So this is a way, if you're entering some of these fields like spread or skunks lost, then you can check that your total spread for the entire tournament, if you happen to have an even number of players, for example, is equal to 0, or that the total skunks won is equal to the total number of skunks lost. In the case where you have an odd number of players, certain players may play that last game against somebody else who didn't need a game, and so the scorecards won't completely match up to one another. So you need to, this is meant to be a guide for you. This at the bottom here, this total row is meant to be a guide for you to catch any typos or mistakes. But because of the fact that there might be an odd number of players, we can't, we aren't going to enforce like rules around spread or things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and now I've entered 4 of the 6. I'm going to go ahead and finish up here. I'm going to enter 2 more players. I'm going to save the results again. Once I've finished entering everybody, I want to make sure and save one last time just so it makes sure that the system has everything. And so I've now saved the results. I've got my 6 players in there. You can see my spread adds up to 0, so I've done a good job of making sure that the math worked out there and that I've double checked all the cards and everything adds up to 0. I've got 3 skunks lost. which matches up to the 3 skunks won. It figures out automatically how many skunks a player won by looking at the total number of game points and the total number of games won and doing the math for you there. And so now I'm done. I'm ready to post the results. If at the point where I get through this list, let's suppose I've forgotten to, I've accidentally deleted someone who did in fact play, and I want to enter their results, but I just messed up and I deleted them accidentally at the beginning when I was checking off everybody who didn't play. I can go ahead and add them back in. So let's suppose in this particular case that Evelyn actually played in the tournament and I just forgot that she played. In this particular case, I can just select her from the list. I can enter her results. I can add her results to the rest of the results. I can save the results. And now you see that Evelyn has been added to the tournament at the bottom. So now that there are 7 players in the tournament rather than 6. So if you need to add someone who you deleted in the first place, you can just add them back in via this drop-down list over here. Finally, the last thing that you might need to do, probably fairly infrequently, but we've added this functionality in case it comes up, is let's suppose it's the first time that somebody played in your club. You can add them to your roster via club members if you like, but you can also add them to your roster as you're entering the results. So if I want to add someone to my roster who I don't have already in my roster, who doesn't show up on this drop-down list of people who can be added to the results, I can go ahead and click that. It'll walk you through the same process that's described in the other tutorial video about adding players to your roster. So now I'm finished. I've added the 7 players that I wanted to the tournament. So now I'm going to just indicate, now that I've finished, I'm going to indicate that I'm done by clicking this I'm done, tournament results are complete button up here at the top. At the point when I do that, it gives me a screen that summarizes the tournament for me. It tells me that a total of 7 players were used to calculate the points, that those members with at least 12 points were eligible to receive national points. In this particular tournament, 2 of the players that I entered scored 12 or more points, and so they received national points. And then it tells me that it tells me as well how many visitors played in the tournament and qualified for points as well. So it just gives me a little summary of the results. I click here to continue, and now rather than having a place to enter more results, it just summarizes the results, and I'm all done. If at this point I notice that I've made a mistake, maybe I see a typo, just something I didn't catch before I said that the results were done, you can click on this re-enter data button. And if you do that, it gets it back to the point where the tournament is no longer complete and I can re-enter results again. In this particular case, everything looks good. I'm going to just go ahead and mark it as complete again. And now my tournament is complete. You'll notice now if I go back to tournament results, which is the list of all the tournaments, that I no longer see that first tournament listed at the very top. Because I've completed it and I'm finished with it, it's sorted that down to the bottom so that I don't have to worry about that tournament anymore. And I don't have to scroll through a long list of tournaments in order to get to the one that I want to enter next, because the next tournament I'm going to want to enter is the one on September 12th. So that's it. That's a quick demo on entering tournament results. Thanks for watching.